Well, hello there, folks, and a very warm welcome back to What's for Tea. And I hope that I find you all very well indeed. So, here is a fab wee recipe for crusty rolls. These are seriously crusty though, and they're not just crusty, they are Scottish crusty rolls. So, they've got a fabulous taste and a wonderful texture. In my opinion, these are just lovely on their own with a good scraping of salted butter or for dunking into your soup. You know, there's just that kind of lovely crispy rolls. So I'll put the ingredients on the screen as I use them, but you'll find them down below in the description box. So I've got some fast acting yeast. I've also got some lard. You can use butter in place of lard, but I would say if you can get lard, then definitely use the lard. I'm also going to be using some salt as well, just a wee bit of salt, and then some sugar as well, just to balance each other out. And then I'm going to be using semolina just to dust the rolls, but you can use rice flour if you have it. We're also going to be using strong white bread flour as well, and then some cold water. So that's everything that you're going to need for the rolls, and this recipe will give you 6 or 7 rolls depending on how big you make them. This was the yeast that I used here, and this was the flour that I used here as well. If you want more rolls, just double up the ingredients. And this was the semolina that I used, but you can also use rice flour like I said. So I'm going to use my stand mix just because it makes everything so much easier, but you can do this by hand if you prefer. So into the mixer I'm going to put my flour, and I'm starting with the balloon whisk, because I'm going to combine the lard and the flour together just until they're nicely combined. Again, you can do all of this by hand, but this just makes it so much quicker and so much easier. So just let that go until the flour and the lard are combined together. It'll only take you a few minutes, much quicker than if you're doing it by hand, but you can do either. So once that's finished, just take your whisk up, and then we're going to add some of the other ingredients as well. So I'm going to pop in my sugar and also the salt and the yeast as well. And then I'm going to pop the whisk back down just to give these a wee gentle spin, just to combine everything nicely before we add the water. So just a few minutes to do this, doesn't take you long at all. You will just see when they're nicely combined. So back up with the whisk. Give it a wee tappy tap just to get everything off, and I'm going to swap this out for the bread hook, because we're now going to start forming the dough. So I'm going to add my bread hook, make sure that's well attached down with your lid, and then I'm going to slowly add the cold water. So just add it a wee bit at a time. I'm just going to run this down the sides just to make sure the flour gets off the sides and into the bottom of the bowl. So this is a wee bit of a different bread recipe. Generally you would use lukewarm water. You would let this dough prove in a nice warm place, but we are actually going to put this in the fridge. Yeah, so it is a slightly different dough recipe than what you might be used to or might be expecting. I do my rolls in a few different ways. When I do my soft morning rolls, the proving is done in a nice warm spot, but this one is going to be done in the fridge, like I said, and it's going to give you a completely different texture and flavour to your bread rolls. So you want to let this spin away for about 15 minutes until it's nicely mixed together. Now, this dough is very sticky and very wet, so I'm going to grease a bowl just to make sure it's nice and easy to get out at the end of the proving time. So pop your sticky wet dough into your bowl, and this is very sticky. It's just that type of dough. It's not going to come into a nice compact shiny ball. It's just this is the way it's meant to be. So don't panic if it's looking like this and you're thinking this isn't right, because it completely goes against your normal dough. This is just how it should look. So pop this covered into your fridge for between 12 and 16 hours to ferment, and it will look like this or similar to this at the end of your time. This had about 17 hours, and let me tell you, by you doing, do it this way, and you'll have a beautiful flavour to your bread rolls. You'll also need a baking sheet or a baking tray and some greaseproof paper as well, and then some extra semolina. So I'm going to pop some semolina down, and I'm going to add the dough straight on top of this just to give the bread rolls a wee bit of extra texture. Then I'm going to add some more semolina to the top, just with your fingertips. Knock a wee bit of the air out that's built up in your dough, just like this. And then I'm going to add some plain flour to the top, and we're going to bring this into a nice smooth ball. Just, just pass this round your hands a few times. You don't want to over knead this, so this is ideal. I'm going to set that to the side whilst I get my scales and my other bits and bobs. Add some semolina to your baking tray as well, and I'm going to weigh my rolls just to make sure they're roughly the same. So I'm going to weigh my rolls just to make sure they're the same sort of size. I got about 6 or 7 from this dough, but if you want more, like I said, just double the recipe. Mine were between 120 and 122 grams. So just grab one of your balls and just pull the dough from the underside to the top, just like this all the way around, and then use your hands just to shape this into a ball and flatten it down ever so slightly. It's really, really easy, as you can see. And just keep going until all your rolls are done. So I was hoping to get 6 from this, but I got a wee extra one as well, so there's a wee half size one. So all you have to do is cover these with a wee bit more semolina just to give them a nice rough texture on the top, which are, signature with these rolls. So you want to bake these in the oven for about 35 minutes, gas mark 8, 230C, or if you've got a fan oven, it'll be 210 because it's slightly lower if you have a fan oven. And when they come out, they'll be looking something like this. And don't they look wonderful? And the smell in this house was absolutely crazy. So all you have to do now is pop these onto a wire rack to cool, because they're going to be very, very warm inside and a wee bit moist still. So pop them onto a wire rack to get them to room temperature. It might take you an hour or so, and then they will pull apart really easily, which I will show you just here. And they've got such a lovely texture, slightly drier than my normal bread roll recipe, but honestly the flavour off of these things, especially the crust, was lovely. It's got that slightly burnt taste, if you like that. If you're in Scotland and you've tried plain bread, the crust, very, very, very similar to that. So I'm just going to pull these apart just to show you, and I will cut one through the middle just to let you hear just how crispy these are, because you can't obviously see watching the video just how crispy they are, but they do pull apart very, very easily, as you can see. So let me let you hear this. Yeah, a good bread knife is definitely recommended. You can see inside just how lovely they are. Now I would simply butter these with a wee bit of salted butter, but honestly, with a nice hot bowl of soup, if you just dip these into your soup, they are going to be wonderful, instead of croutons or something like that. They just work so well with soup. So do let me know if you're planning on giving those ones a go. Super easy, but they do take a wee bit of time, obviously, because they're fermenting, but just give them a go. And thank you as usual to the supporters of the channel over on my Patreon page, and to the channel members here on YouTube, for you all for watching and leaving your lovely comments, and for those who have bought me a coffee using the Buy Me a Coffee link, and for those that have shared the videos as well. And I will catch up with you during the week back here on What's for Tea. So take care and bye for now. Bye now.